major donor chair. So let's give a big round of applause for Jayne Hulbert.
Good morning, everybody. I cannot compete with Bill Gates, so I'm not even going to try. But I'm delighted to be here, and I think it's wonderful that today is World Polio Day. I'll be talking about polio here shortly, but I want to thank President Mike for asking me to come up and talk about the Rotary Foundation, why it's important, and I think especially for newer Rotarians, it's important to understand what the foundation is and, quite frankly, how we can be so effective in using it.
As soon as I get it going. Oh.
But while you're, there you go. Oh, that's right, I need the clicker, don't I? All right. So, first off, I want to thank everybody in the room for being a Rotarian. I joined Rotary back in 1997, and I retired just a couple of years ago, and have essentially dedicated my life ever since to Rotary and all that we're able to do. My husband, Gene Duffy, is with me here today, retired pharmacist, and is luckily a wonderful person to chauffeur me to places like this, and he's certainly involved with the Rotary Foundation, and he is this year's annual fund chair. And thank you, John, for making the pitch about that campaign that we're in the midst of. We know that Rotarians are extraordinary people, and indeed we're able to accomplish extraordinary things. And part of that has to do with not only your club members, but also the worldwide presence that we have. One of the things that tends to get confused about Rotary is, what is Rotary International, and how is that different from the Rotary Foundation? And as you can see here, the Rotary International is a nonprofit. It is a 501c4, and you can see that the dues that we pay with the club and then on to Rotary International, that all goes to Rotary International, and they have a staff, and they are really, really quite good. The other part of Rotary happens to be the 501c3 arm, or the true nonprofit, and that is the Rotary Foundation. And it's that organization that we're able to make tax-deductible donations. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. And by the way, Mike does have a copy of this presentation, so you don't need to take a whole lot of notes or make pictures of this. He has all of it. Since 1947, a long time ago, the Rotary Foundation has made more than $3 billion of humanitarian grants. And this is our mission, and Mike, maybe you could read that to the group.
Okay, to enable Rotarians to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty.
Thank you. This is such an important mission statement of the Rotary Foundation, and it's something that is near and dear to those of us involved in the Rotary Foundation and Rotary. Now, interestingly enough, way back in 1917, the first donation to the Rotary Foundation was all of $26.50. Now, I should probably go back and figure out what $26.50 in 1917 is worth today. I don't know, but it must have been a fair amount of money. Now, interestingly enough, in 1929, the foundation gave out their first gift of all of $500. Now, what I find to be remarkable about this first gift is that it went to an organization that was founded by a Rotarian, which is the organization that came to be known as Easter Seals. And what did the Easter Seals provide for all these years? Support to polio. I just find it an incredible situation that way back when we did that. So it's just one of those little interesting facts. From 1965 to 2013, the Rotary Foundation provided grants throughout the world known as matching grants, and your club probably participated in that program. Because of the extreme administrative costs associated with matching grants, because you can see there was an awful lot of them, in 2013, just a couple of short years ago, Rotary International and the Foundation introduced what we now know as district grants and global grants. And the significance here is that the global grants have a much higher threshold to get approved, therefore lowering the total administrative cost to the Rotary Foundation. And one of the rationale for doing the global grants was also to encourage more clubs to get together around the world instead of my club doing a little grant and your club doing a little grant. And it makes sense, and it actually strengthens the bond of Rotary clubs when you're able to have those international partners. In 1985, Rotary officially launched Polio Plus. And this was it's our signature project to this day. Polio Plus was actually started in the late 70s by by past President Matt Capras from the Philippines, because the Philippines was experiencing such a huge rate of polio. So 1985 to today, we're still at it. It's 30 years, and President Mike gave you the statistics. It's an amazing reduction in the number of cases of polio. In 1987 and 88, Rotary also launched another significant initiative, which was to create the Peace Centers. And those Peace Centers now provide some educational scholarships to those who want to get involved in preventing violence throughout the world. That's both locally, could be gang related to the major political strife that the world is experiencing now. Rotary has 6 areas of focus. Again, this came out in the last couple of years because of the transition from matching grants to the global grants. So we are in the area of fighting disease, saving mothers and children, growing local economies, supporting education, providing clean water, and promoting peace. So those are Rotary's 6 areas of focus. Now, giving to Rotary, there's 2 sides to the Rotary Foundation. There's the giving side, also known as the fundraising side, and then there's the grant side. And what I'm going to concentrate more on today is on the giving side. John talked about the annual fund, also known as SHARE. And the annual fund is really important, and if you don't remember anything about this presentation today, please remember that every dollar that you give to the annual fund in any one Rotary year, half of that money comes back to District 5150 in just 3 short years. That's huge, and I want to repeat it. Every dollar that we give during this Rotary year to the annual fund comes back to the district in just 3 years. Now, that money that comes back to the district is known as District Designated Funds, or the acronym of DDF. And it's that money that then is identified to each of our clubs so that we can use it for perhaps dictionaries for 3rd graders. Do you guys do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you use DDF for that? Or
We use it for something else.
Okay. So that DDF you can use for district grants, or you can use that money as part of global grants. So it's really significant, and that's why we're now in the midst of our annual fund campaign. The endowment fund, formerly known as the permanent fund, is also significant because that endowment fund is what's really going to be funding the future of the Rotary Foundation. It also funds what's known as the World Fund, the areas of focus, and the Rotary Peace Centers. And then, of course, I mentioned Polio Plus. So those are the main areas that we're able to, when we donate to the foundation, that we're able to give. And then you can also do term gifts and to the Peace Centers that I mentioned. This is my favorite slide with the Rotary Foundation, and I'm going to give you 30 seconds to memorize this thing. Okay? Got it? Now, this slide is really pretty screwball, and it's actually gotten a little bit better lately. But what I want to talk about, we talk about the annual fund, used to be known as annual program funds, and you'll still hear people talk about it. Here's the fund, and 50% of this goes into the World Fund, but then 50% of it comes back to our district in the form of district designated funds. Really, really important. The permanent fund, now rebranded as the endowment fund, then goes to designated funds from the earnings from this, as well as undesignated, and then restricted funds. You don't really need to memorize this slide, but what's the one most important thing about the Rotary Foundation and our giving? 50% of what we give to the annual fund comes back to the district in just 3 short years. I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful way to think about it, that we give money to the annual fund now, and then in 3 years, half that money comes back to us to spend. It's a great funding model. This is the annual report. It comes out every year. If you haven't seen it, and if you happen to be a accounting freak, you can go online and take a look at it. But one of the great things about the Rotary Foundation is it's absolutely transparent on its numbers. This is the 2013, 2014. Gosh, really? Skip tells me I have to hurry up and speed up. Anyway, you can get this online, and the numbers for the Rotary year ending in July should be out soon. Contributions to the Rotary Fund through 2014 and that year, $246 million, and you can see $117 million of that actually went into the annual program funds. What's really important here is how your club can leverage the money that goes into the Rotary Foundation. And here on the left is an example. We've got $16,000, and you're going to use $7,000 of DDF, either from your club or from other clubs. And that gives us a total amount of $23,000 if we just use that. However, with the annual fund, we can get from the Rotary Foundation 50%, we can get 50% of this amount of money through asking the Rotary Foundation to match the money, and then DDF, the Rotary Foundation funds that, if you're using DDF, at 100%. So we get an additional $15,000, and what's, again, great about the funding model is we get this $23,000 if we didn't ask the Rotary Foundation to match it. Our $23,000 turns into $38,000. So you can see that the Rotary Foundation, a lot of people say, why should I give to that foundation? And for me, it's like, I'm an old mortgage banker. I like using other people's money. And so use the Rotary Foundation's money. That's what it's there for. What is your Rotary passion? I want you to think about it. I have a lot of Rotary passions. In the late 40s, at the height of the polio epidemic, my sister became a victim of that. So we grew up understanding the issues of disabilities. We also now know that a lot of polio victims, survivors are now suffering from what's known as post-polio syndrome, where the muscles from, if you will, their good legs are now atrophying, and they're just having more and more difficulties getting around. Jayne and I were able to go onto a final inspection of the clean water project that we did in 5 rural villages in Thailand. And our club participated in this along with several other clubs. And yes, the Rotary Foundation was there as well. And how many of you have gone on an international Rotary Foundation or Rotary project? If you haven't, I really encourage you to do it. It is absolutely life-changing. When we were in these villages, there was one principal particularly who had tears streaming down his face, thanking us with enormous gratitude for making his dream of clean drinking water in his village become a reality. And each of these clean water systems were put at elementary schools because, after all, the first line of defense is with the children. And I mean, it was just an amazing, amazing situation. Again, with the Rotary Foundation, giving for a lasting impact is really important because it's going to make sure that our Rotary Foundation is going to be there in perpetuity. And I mentioned our Rotary Foundation because, as I said, it's our money giving and it's our money that we get to spend. So it's just really, really important. Gifts are really wisely invested. I gave a presentation to some major donors this spring, and the investment rates that the foundation is able to achieve, because they have billions and billions of dollars invested. I mean, it was sort of like, gosh, can I just give you my money and have you take care of it? I mean, we're talking like 7 or 8%. Thank you. Every Rotarian, every year, there is a brochure on your table. This is what John talked about earlier. Please, please take the time to donate. This year's annual fund campaign's a little bit different in that we're not giving away televisions and iPads and those kinds of things. All we're going to do to make it simple, we're giving away Visa gift cards. And there's over $6,100 in gift cards. The grand prize is $2,000. So, Paul Harris Society, this is when we each contribute $1,000 to the Paul Harris Society. And there's a number of you here. This is the Paul Harris Medal. And I guess if you're a Paul Harris Society, you can go fishing and stuff like that. Major gifts, if you're able, you can do $10,000 or more. Other major gifts are $25,000 or more. And for those who can afford it, if you contribute more than $250,000, you become a member of the Arch Clump Society and you get your picture and your little resume in the halls of Evanston. And we have 4 or 5 Arch Clump members in our district.
Wow.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's really impressive. And one of them, there's different levels of the Arch Clump Society. One of them is way, way up there. The other thing to think about is your Rotary legacy. And this is something that you can do today to ensure the Rotary Foundation's longevity. As far as I know, at some point we're all going to leave the earth, which is really too bad. But if you donate $10,000 in your estate and make that commitment to the Rotary Foundation, you then become a member of the Bequest Society. Well, now I've really done this. The other thing I want to mention, there's a couple of flyers on the table, is to, instead of, when John says, hey, give me your money for the annual fund, just become a member of Rotary Direct. This will automatically debit your credit card. You can do, $5 a month, $25 a month, or any amount. And it just makes it seamless, effortless. When people say, come on, there's a lot of bad nonprofits out there, and we've all been pitched by bad nonprofits. This charity rating is incredible. 92% of all donations to the Rotary Foundation are used for programmatic purposes. That's huge. Fundraising and admin expenses make up the rest of that. One of the things I ask each of you to do is to lead by example. Tell your Rotary story. I know each of you in this room has a Rotary story, whether it's supporting breast cancer or getting out with the Rotary banners at the Columbus Day Parade or whatever it's called these days. And as I always like to say, make your gift early and make it often. And it's just really important. And this is Paul Harris, the founder of Rotary on the right side. And what you do for the Rotary Foundation absolutely determines what we're going to be able to do with the foundation tomorrow. End polio now, we've talked a little about it. For those of us old enough to remember the iron lungs, there's a picture of it. There is an iron lung that the district has that periodically clubs take out and go to shopping centers and people stop by and say, what's that? And then we're able to tell the polio story and raise money for polio. This is what's really significant. When people were talking that India was going to become polio-free, I have to tell you, I was the original naysayer. It's like, not in my lifetime was that going to happen. It's now been more than 4 years. Africa, who would have thought we would have been able to do it? No polio virus since August, actually, that's of 2014. I mean, it's amazing. And Nigeria has been taken off the list of being an endemic polio country. It's just remarkable. And what Mike said was, we've only got 51 cases now worldwide. I have to tell you though, just a month ago, that number was only 41. So apparently this is the polio season in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Additional polio statistics, and again, you know, make history today. Today is World Polio Day, and it's just really significant. So Skip has told me that I'm out of time. I'm not out of town yet. So I want to thank you all very much for your support for the Rotary Foundation. It's a great opportunity. If you ever need additional information, Mike and John particularly have my business card, and we'd love to work with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jayne.
My pleasure.
This slide is very important because right now, if you're donating to Polio Plus or End Polio Now, your $25 gets matched twice, 2 times, by the Gates Foundation. So your $25 turns into $75.
Exactly.
Okay. One question. Dave just contributed to the Paul Harris Award. I offered to the club members that I would match from my recognition points anyone that would donate to bump them up to get their Paul Harris. So Dave took advantage of that. That doesn't necessarily go into Polio Plus. It can just go into the share program.
It goes into annual fund share. What is significant here is that, you know, the Gates Foundation, thank you for mentioning this, it does go through 2018. In the event Rotary doesn't have the amount of money that we have pledged to Gates that has been donated to the Polio Plus Fund, guess what? We take it from other reserves and other funds that we have. So we will always meet that minimum requirement that we have, and it's a big number. I just don't remember what it is. So
35 million.
35 million
Per year.
Yeah. So if only $20 million in donations are made, Rotary makes up to 15 million. So it's really good. And definitely take advantage of Mike's offer to double your Paul Harris contributions. Significant. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you want to know where you stand in terms of Paul Harris or